Okay. Happy Friday, y'all. Brian, you look like you're on vacation.
I am in Nice, France.
That would be pretty cool if you were. All right.
This was
All
a
right.
pretty good picture for 10 years ago. I'm pretty surprised my camera did so good.
Well, at least you've been. I haven't been there.
It's nice.
All right. Who's
Well,
got some good news for us? Who wants to share what they're grateful for? Let's start off the week, the Friday positive. Good morning, Andrew.
Morning.
Pam, that's the site from your lake house, right? Or your mountain house, right?
Yes, well, it's both. It's mountain and lake.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
I
Not
like that.
quite sure how it came up today when it hasn't other days, but who knows?
All right. Thanks for
That's an
being here.
awesome view.
Okay, I sent out a little schedule change for today. We're going to do the launch mastermind from 12 to 1 instead of 1 to 2. And we are going to take a week off from the success series. So I've got Carrie Veal booked for next Friday. Carrie, as you know, is an ALC member. She's about to wrap up her 3rd year in the business. And this year, it's not all about numbers. Please understand that's not where I'm coming from when I say this. But she's been massively successful. She will finish the year probably around $450,000 in GCI, gross commission income, in not even her 3rd complete year. She's phenomenal, and she is, maybe with the exception of Pam Sliger, the nicest person in the office. And Kathy Ray. We'll let her in now. All right. Okay, and don't forget today, I haven't officially gotten word that there's like any certain people that are invited or not invited. So I'm just going to throw it out there, and I'll get yelled at later if necessary. But from 3 to 4 o'clock today, 3 to 4 o'clock today is a social equity mastermind. So if you guys would like to participate in that, we've got a couple of them going on, but this one seems to be one that more leadership tends to go to for some reason or another. So if you have an idea, or you just want to listen, or you just want to kind of hear what we're up to, please feel free to join us, and I'll get you the link a little bit later today. Okay.
Like Phil, I apologize. What is that? What is that revolve around? Is that necessarily how we approach our clients in that kind of atmosphere, or just overall socioeconomics issues, or?
That's certainly a component of it, social economic issues, and it's, you know, in the last couple of months, especially, as many of us know, hopefully all of us know, you know, there's been a lot of civil unrest, right? There's a lot of tension around the country on equal opportunities and access, and you know, homeownership plays a big role in the development of a family's wealth trajectory, right? And for probably since the beginning of time, there are certain groups that have had sometimes, and many times, intentional limitations put on their access, and sometimes in secondary and tertiary ways have had limited access in some capacity, and that affects lots of things, right? That affects the development of a particular community or neighborhood, that can limit the wealth trajectory and the education for groups of people. I mean, there's a ton of ramifications. So anyway, Keller Williams has decided to lead the charge, right? We're as many of us know who are reading this book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, they make a pretty strong statement that essentially says, and I'm only, you know, 7 chapters in, so if anyone has read beyond that, feel free to correct me if I'm speaking out of line here, but it essentially says that if you stand by and essentially let these things continue, then that is considered racist behavior to some degree, right? And the way to be an anti-racist is to is to take action and to speak out and be a part of how to increase equality and equity to any disadvantaged groups. For those that are reading it or those that have watched what's going on, is that a good way to summarize what we're up to?
Yes.
That is correct.
Thank you.
All
Bill.
right. So basically, just so if you guys don't know this, Keller Williams, there was 2 initiatives put out of the Greater Pennsylvania region earlier this summer, and the IALC.
I'm kind of glad Carter didn't even want them to touch my hair.
Wait, did you want to add something, Swantis?
I think
Oh,
Tawantis
no,
was talking to somebody
I'm
else.
sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Sorry, Bill.
That's okay. I just want to make sure you had the form if you wanted to add something.
Okay.
So basically, Keller Williams has taken a pretty aggressive role in this. That Gary put out a statement right after the George Floyd situation, where he's like, we are taking a stand on this. And if you watch some of the videos from Mega Camp, Gary said something to the effect of, he was asked a question: what is the biggest obstacle to moving this initiative forward, right? And he asked what the biggest obstacle would be to a couple of the regional directors who happen to be African American, and they said, movements are exhausting, right? It's everyone's talking about it now and they want to take action now, but what happens in 6 months, right? Are we still going to have the momentum that we need to make the change, quite frankly, and certainly lasting change, right? And he says, well, I'll tell you what, I ain't going anywhere, and neither is this conversation. So we'll be talking about this forever, and I'm going to be leading the charge. So he is a no-nonsense dude, okay? So the ALC, the IALC, International ALC, they voted on 2 things at Mega Camp, both of which were equity and social equity related. One was to change the belief system, right? We call it the Y4C2Ts, right? And we added equity. We voted to add equity, opportunities for all, to the belief system. That's a 35-plus-year-old belief system, right? That was edited, that was improved, right? Now, 2 things to take from that. Number 1 is we have the power as associates to be involved in massive change within the organization, which is a pretty cool opportunity. And secondly, in all the votes that the IALC has ever been a part of for 35 plus years, there's never been anything that was voted on unanimously. This was the very first time that happened. Okay. The second time it happened was right afterwards, when they voted to include a diversity, equity, and inclusion chair to the Agent Leadership Council. So now there will be productivity, growth, social/culture, technology, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right? Did I do a good job of summarizing that? Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. So basically, there was also some questions about, how do we make a difference? And most of the time people say, well, how do we make a difference on the national stage, right? Or the international stage? And the response was, you make a difference in your local community, right? So we're doing a book club. We have a series of masterminds. We have one that is kind of GLG more so. That's the one today. And then we have one within Roswell that is, we're looking for ways to, there's just so many things. I could talk about this for hours. I've sat in meetings where, a Black agent or an African-American agent would say, I don't know if I should put my picture on my business card. I'm scared to put my picture on the for sale sign. Right. I'm not sure. We have agents that, it took them joining a team led by white leaders to ever have a closing with a white person. Until then, they only had closings with Black people. Yeah. Right. So as a person like myself, for example, that, I don't particularly have to worry about that personally, right? I can be totally blind to some of those concepts. and these are very these are horrible things, right? And so the first part of solving this problem is having an awareness about it, right? And the second part is putting a bunch of like-minded people together that have the authority and the desire to make improvements. Okay. And we're learning how to, we're kind of learning how to talk to each other in some capacities, right? Like, how do we, we're gonna, like Gary says, we're gonna fumble through this, right? Like, I hope to God that when I'm talking about this stuff with y'all, I'm definitely not trying to offend anyone, but I hope I don't accidentally offend somebody. And if I do, I apologize in advance. But, I've been a part of every one of these sessions because that's part of leadership. I got to figure out how to, I got to understand what topics people are sensitive to and what their struggles are. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Thank
Yeah.
you for the question. That was a very long-winded answer, I feel like, but it's an important topic to discuss, right? And by the way, if you understand these ideas, then I believe you'll be a better consultant for your people, right? And if you get on the phone with somebody and he's like, well, I don't want to live anywhere near Black people. I mean, that's basically like, okay, well, have a nice life. I don't work with people like that, right? But there are many areas that there's not a lot of Blacks living in the neighborhood, right? And so there's just sensitivity everywhere, and we have to listen, we have to understand, or do our best to understand, right? We have to, I don't say we have to. I mean, many of us that are involved, they don't have to do anything, but they're choosing to because it's something that they're trying to become a better person. They're trying to become more understanding and be able to deliver a better service, right? Anyone want to add anything to that?
The only thing I want to add is I really like the way Gary said is you have to, or someone said in that conversation, that you have to be comfortable. You have to be okay with being uncomfortable on both sides, because you just talking about it made me feel uncomfortable, but in a good way. And I would imagine, and I can kind of tell by you choosing your words wisely, that you too was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But everybody has to be okay with that. It's okay. And they said that during that conversation with Gary. That was, I think, one of the most powerful things they said is that you have to be okay saying Black people. You have to be okay saying, whatever we're talking about at the time. And I think everyone just has to be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. That's, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm watching my words, and if many of you guys know me, I'm like, that's not really one of my strong suits, right? Like I don't naturally, I kind of just say whatever is on my mind, and oftentimes I piss people off, right? But that's not good, right? So if this is the impetus to make me watch my words better, then great, right? All right, so you were invited.
If I may, I
Yeah,
think
please.
something too that's very difficult in my experience was I feel like sometimes no matter what I say, I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings because everybody has different ways that they feel are appropriate. Some people are offended to be called Black. Some people are offended to be called African American because they were born here.
Yeah.
And so it's terrifying to not know what the appropriate thing is to say by the person. There's no rule. And that's terrifying because I don't want to hurt anybody.
Right.
Yeah, but
that's, I think
Heather,
that's the uncomfortable piece. Yeah.
wait, Tina, say that again, please, Tina.
I think that's the uncomfortable piece. Like, you got to be okay with. I mean, you got to be okay with, you might say something to offend someone, but not meaning to. Because exactly, like, I even said the same thing. Like, are we back now to being Black? I mean,
Yeah.
and, I'm Black. So I was even like, okay, so what's the politically correct way now? Are we so? But I think that you have to be okay with that feeling. You know, if you know your heart, you know what your intent is. So you have to be okay with that feeling and still having the conversation. Don't let that stop you from having the conversation, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And Heather, like just a personal comment to you is I don't think anyone would ever take offense to anything you say because of the tone that you use when you speak, right? So if you come from a place of curiosity and care and compassion and empathy and desire to understand, then I think it minimizes the chance that somebody would take your words out of context.
Well,
Right.
and I'm not talking about within a discussion about the discussion. I'm talking about in everyday life.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, Kim Hutchins, for example, and I have been friends for 9 or 10 years, and ever since I got to the office, and we've had some challenging conversations, right? And we've gone to lunch and we've grabbed coffee, and like we're just getting to know each other, right? And every once in a while she says, "Hey, Bill, that was dumb. You shouldn't have done that," right? And I'm like, "Thank you. Like, I'm not trying to be dumb. I need you to help me," right? So it's a journey that we're all on, and if you'd like to participate, again, it's from 3 to 4 today, and I'll send out the link here shortly. And then there was another one that's the Roswell group. I think Melody sent out a text yesterday or an email yesterday, maybe, that was a reschedule for it. I think it's sometime next week. I'll look that up too.
Please.
Any other final comments on that?
I was going to say
Hey,
next week is the first.
Kathy, say that, please.
It was rescheduled to next Thursday, the 1st.
And what time is that?
2 to 3, I think.
2 to 3 next Thursday. Okay. So, one of the just from a personal perspective, one of the things that pisses me off the most is that there's not a lot of people in the room. Right?
I know.
So,
You know what? The last time we did it, or no, 2 times ago, it was almost everybody in the room was either ALC or PC.
Right.
That was it.
Wow.
I applaud those that were there, right?
But then again, I mean, we have crazy schedules, and if you don't live by your calendar, and like yesterday, I was going to do it. Wait, was it yesterday?
Yeah, there's the book club was yesterday.
Yeah. And so it got bumped to next week. And then I looked at my calendar for next Thursday. It's like, oh, I got to move something so I can do it. But maybe it's, people, we all have crazy schedules.
Definitely. And please don't hear that if you don't show up to these things, you don't care about, African-American people. That's not what I'm suggesting.
Right.
I just want you to know that it's out there, and that almost certainly if you sit in that room for 2 minutes, you will understand a perspective that you've most likely never thought about.
Bill, can we be in the, to be honest, I would love to be in it, but I do not have enough time to put another book on. I don't have time, to read another book. Like, my schedule is so busy, but I do want to be a part.
Yeah, you can be a part. You don't have to, we don't there's no quiz to enter the room or anything. So, please be a part of it. And by the way, I haven't looked this up, but just about any book out there, if you go on YouTube and you say how to be an anti-racist summary, you can watch a 10-minute video on the main points of the book. That's not a substitute for watching the video or reading the book, but if you have a curiosity about what's kind of the content, that might be a good place to start.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got it, and I'm gonna put some time into it this weekend. But
yeah,
from personal experience, it exists because when I first got licensed, I was talking to one of my best friends, and he's an immigrant from Guyana. His wife's from Jamaica. His mom's an agent, a real estate agent. And I was like, I know your wife's or your mom's an agent, but if I can help you in any way, just let me know. And he's like, oh yeah, no, we need a white face to it. And I'm like, I didn't know how to react.
Yeah.
But we have frank conversations like that all the time. And I just, I didn't know how to react when he said that, because I'm like, wow, I kind of get it because I know it exists, but how are you supposed to react to that? Like I
Hey,
just,
Bill,
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to say something to that because, see, that's what I think a lot of time happens with everyone when we have discussions as it relates to race, in my opinion. Like when we, like how Brian is react, Brian is like, I don't know how to react. Most people avoid coming to groups or having discussions like that because they don't want to just understand that, okay, this, it still is reality at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
instead of necessarily trying to avoid it and act like it's not happening, the whole point is that, okay, this is really our reality. This is really what's going on in the world, in America right now. This is how people look at us. And unfortunately, it wouldn't be as uncomfortable if when we talk to each other, we didn't talk to each other as a defined race versus a person. Like, I can talk to you and be able to have a conversation and not feel uncomfortable to you if you were still in your own house because you're a person. And I don't care because you're a person. But if I go to your house and I'm like, oh, you're a white person, so now I have to change my whole thoughts and perceptions of what you think of me and how I think of you before we even start. And to me, I just think that is like a lot of what happens with the discussions. People avoid it. People don't want to deal with it, and it's the truth. I mean, it
Right.
is.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and simultaneously, when you show up at their door and they're white and you're not white, they're trying to reconcile all their thoughts
Right.
about people that look like you, right?
Right.
And if they don't hire you, you don't know why, right? And if you straight up ask, hey, can you help me understand? I want to get better. Help me understand why you happen to choose the other agent. Do you think they're going to say because you're black and they're not black? Of course they're not going to say that, right? Even though that may be
Right.
the reason, right?
Right.
So like, I mean, there's just so much to unravel here. And I mean, Brian, it takes guts to come into a room like this and say that. So I applaud that too.
Yeah.
I would also like to say something.
Yeah, please.
I'm just glad that everybody here actually acknowledges that this is an issue, because there are so many people that deny that this is even an issue.
Right.
I can't believe how many people. There's a Facebook group called Real Estate Mastermind, and somebody made it. I don't remember what they posted, but it was relating to this topic. And everybody in the comment section was just like, no, I don't do that because, code of ethics and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, are you guys serious? Like, that this stuff actually happens. And of course, maybe nobody in this comment section would do that, but it doesn't mean that you can just deny that it ever happens. So I'm just glad that people are.
Yeah. So
accepting that.
it's like I said, it's I think the next book that we're going to read is one called White Fragility, which I haven't read yet, but it talks about, basically equips white people with how to have some of these discussions, right? And I mean, I guess the biggest takeaway right now is there anything that you can do or learn or offer that will make your little micro world more open-minded, right? And are you willing to read a book? Are you willing to have a
Conversation.
to ask questions, to have a conversation, right?
Bill, here's my problem with all of this is, I don't want to label people. I just want to take care of people, and I don't, I have a problem with people telling me I need to learn how to be anti-racist. I've been anti-racist my whole life. And what I don't hear out of all of these conversations is let's stop separating people. Let's bring everybody together as one and not have labels on anybody, any race. I'm an American Indian. Do any of you guys know that? No, because I'm one of you, you're one of me. And I have no label, you have no label. And that's what I would like to see, us putting forth, not how to be anti-racist, just how to be, pro
that-
everyone.
That's
According to their definition of how to be an anti-racist, it is a lot of what you're discussing, but it's also an acknowledgement that we're not all starting from the same place, basically.
Right. And can I comment on that? Jen,
Yeah.
I can't see your face, so I don't know what you look like, but it's easier to say, I'd rather not be labeled when you see me, I already have a label. So we might not know that you're American Indian, which I am too, because when I see you, I don't automatically see it. But when you see me, you see that I'm Black. So I don't have to wear a label. I don't have to wear Black Lives Matters. I don't have to do anything. You automatically see that I'm a Black woman.
Okay, I can appreciate that. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
So
That is
because
exactly
can't
why
see-
we have these conversations.
yeah, you can't see that I grew up on welfare, but you also can't
Right.
see that when there was a set of railroad tracks that runs down through Oklahoma
Right.
City, and white people lived on one side and Black people lived on the other. And when a Black family moved into our neighborhood, people were freaking out. I didn't know what the big deal was because my mom raised me not to be prejudiced. She raised me, everybody's the same. So,
Right.
I mean, I don't see it that way. So, but I guess you're right. Other people look at you differently probably. And I just don't. I guess that's where I'm coming from, because I don't see you differently. And I raise my
Frankly,
kids.
Jan, you're probably in a very small minority.
But Jan, I grew up that way too. And the problem with that, because I grew up in a very dual home where I wasn't taught that there was a difference. Like until I moved down to Georgia from Minnesota, I didn't even know how much prejudice and racism and different things still exist. I thought it was history. And it's not history. And the thing is, just because we see the equality doesn't mean the equality exists. It's kind of a utopian ideal in some ways at this moment. And so we were raised in a way that is utopian, and we're trying to make that a reality.
Yeah, that's a wise way of saying it. There's actually a book, I don't know if you guys have read this, it's called White Flight. Have you ever read that?
White Flight?
White Flight. It's a book that's written about Atlanta, basically, and the history of many housing policies and politicians, that we had a lot of African-American soldiers that came back from World War II and were offered financing opportunities to buy, yet there was essentially two real estate markets. There was the white person's real estate market and the Black person's real estate market, right? And how kind of all of the stuff that happened with Blacks moving into certain areas, and then the whites that lived in those areas, they catapulted to the suburbs, right?
And like even when and not from here, but like I paid attention to some history in the 13 years I've been here, they even built schools, private schools, specifically to legally continue segregation.
Oh, for sure. And if you look at the way that the connector is in town, it kind of goes like this. They call it the Grady curve. That is specifically designed to cut through Edgewood, which was Martin Luther King's turf, right? To break it up. Almost everything that has happened in Atlanta for the last 50 years or more has been racially motivated. They used to have a policy that says whites and Blacks can't live on the same street. That's why Briarcliff changed to Moreland when it hits Ponce, right? If you look at the map of Atlanta, there's very few east to west roads, right? That's intentional.
MARTA,
right?
when they designed MARTA. And
MARTA, the people in Gwinnett County don't want Blacks and Mexicans and gays in their turf, so they say no. Even in North Fulton today, we just killed it 2 years ago, right? Cobb County doesn't want what they think is Blacks and gays in Cobb County, so they don't want it over there, right? I'm not saying that's true, but if you think we're past this, you're not paying attention.
Hey, I've got to make a phone call at 9 o'clock, but I have the book on Audible and I can share it with, I don't know how many times I can share it. I just shared it with Ebony. So if you want me to share it with you, I'll see how many times I can share it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I think how that works is every time you share it, if you don't have an Audible account,
Yeah.
if that person doesn't have an Audible account, they get 2 free books.
Right.
So you can send it to everybody that doesn't have it. Because I've
Right.
got it on Audible as well.
Okay.
So if you run out of shares, I'll
Okay.
be happy to just share it with anybody as well. But we
Thank
all
you.
get like 2 free Audibles.
Well,
I would love to have it, Brian, as well.
I think this has been a fun conversation, John. Thank you for pushing us to have it today. You know, I don't want you to leave this conversation and say, "Where's the productivity coaching stuff?" Right? Like this is the world we live in. We're trying to figure out how to be the best concierge, the best resource, the best advisor, the best consultant. If you haven't had a lot of real estate transactions, you will certainly soon feel like a marriage counselor, a financial advisor, a psychiatrist, a taxi cab driver. Like you have a lot of roles being a real estate agent, and we're dealing with people from all types of backgrounds every day. And if you don't choose to learn about how to be more open-minded and how to be a better partner for these people, you will struggle. You will struggle, right? So I hope today's content was valuable. Yeah, John, go ahead.
I apologize, and I don't mean to extend the conversation much further, but you mentioned about the white flight. Coming from New York, and from on Long Island in the 1940s and 1950s. It's a very, very similar history. You had after World War II, you had among the earliest planned communities in the country, and one of them being Levittown, New York.
Yeah.
It has a very, very interesting history along extremely, unfortunately, racial boundaries, and how a lot of Long Island was populated during that time was with extreme racial prejudice. And it's
guys, it's so obvious sometimes. You know what gerrymandering is?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have you seen some of those maps? Isn't that ridiculous? Like, and how could anybody look at that and not say there's racial stuff going on?
Yeah.
I mean,
this isn't exclusive to America either.
Oh no.
Like I've traveled, it happens everywhere in the world.
Right.
Everywhere.
Well,
but we can lead the change. We should be leading the change.
So,
hey, Bill, before we finish, can I add one last comment?
Yeah, please.
I don't know if you know this, but I have a master's degree in social work. And when I was doing my graduate program at Georgia State, I had an African-American professor, and we were talking about race, and we were each commenting on it. And I said that I don't really see race. Like Jan, I don't see race. You know, I feel like I'm colorblind. And he set me straight. He said, I do not like when people say that, because when you say you don't see my race, you're saying you don't see my uniqueness, you don't see my history, you don't see my different experiences. And I never forgot that. That made such an impression on me. When you say that you don't see any race at all, like we're all the same, we're not all the same. We all have very different backgrounds, different experiences, and we should appreciate that in each other.
I appreciate you sharing that. You know, and this book talks about this idea of what's called a microaggression. So let's just pretend that you're walking down the street with your little child at night, and a black person comes walking the other direction. That's scenario A. Scenario B is same thing, but a black person walks the other, towards you at nighttime. Do you like, if you like clutch your child a little bit stronger, if it's a black person, you've got some things you got to work out, right? Like that is there you may not see race, but there's some judgment there, right? So you got to think that through, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, it sounds like you guys, this is the topic, like we all suggested, that it's not going anywhere. And the more we have it, I think the more we will appreciate each other's uniqueness, like Donna alluded to, and we'll open our eyes to things that we very easy to not acknowledge. And I think that every time that happens, we become better people and better parents and better friends and better business people. And I think that we all can gain a lot from that, right? All right. Well, I hate to push towards something a little less important, but I want to refer to a couple things that I sent you guys via WhatsApp today, and then we'll wrap up. So one, if you have not taken Ignite or you want to pop into an Ignite class, Ignite starts on October 19th. I just sent out the schedule. I have referenced in a number of one-on-one sessions lately the Agent Pivot Scripts book. So I just decided to post it here. It's in the Google Drive, of course, but this is a script book that has a lot of ideas regarding COVID stuff, right? So it's, ideas with respect to, texting and calling and leaving messages and these kind of things regarding like, hey, how's the family? Is everyone safe? Do you need anything? Those kind of commentaries. So if you're a little reluctant to call somebody in your sphere and ask them about real estate, do this first. Remember, we have to make deposits with people before we can make withdrawals from those same people. Make sense? And I also posted something called the New Daily Tracker. The New Daily Tracker, I've also had a number of discussions with this with one-on-one people, it is a document that I think, well, number one, you can edit it, right? So if there's things that you specifically need to do each day, like, I don't know, if you meditate or you work out or you call your mother or whatever, put it on there so that it's something that you can have in front of you every day. And you're making notes about all the people you speak to, all the promises you make, all the things you need to remind yourself to do. And then you can check off the things that you have to do, right? Did I look at my pipeline today? Did I post on social media today? Did I book an appointment today? How many people did I contact? How many appointments did I set? All that kind of thing. So I would highly recommend that you create this document in a custom way for you and then print out a ton of them, and that should sit on your desk every day. Make sense? Okay. Does anyone want to share anything they have an intention of committing to for this weekend?
I'm shadowing on my first open house.
You're what? You're shadowing on your first open house? Beautiful.
Yes.
Cool.
I've been trying to find someone to shadow. I still haven't found anyone yet.
Okay, who's doing an open house that would like Tina or who would allow Tina to come and check
Or
it out?
I can help. I don't have to just shadow. I'll come help. Do whatever you need help with.
Put it on Roswell page, Tina, and I'm sure somebody's doing an open house this week. You can pop in there, and I'm sure they'd love your help.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, one other thing I totally forgot about. I don't know, Mike got missed in the shuffle, but I am out on Monday for Yom Kippur. So would somebody like to? I can give you. How do I do that? Let me think of how to do it. But would somebody like to lead the 8:30 call, or should we just? I would like to have it. I just can't lead it. I think what a good way to a good topic for Monday would be role play. Donna, are you going to be available?
Actually, I'm on vacation and I haven't had a day off yet. So
Okay.
I'm trying to take some time off.
Okay, so I'll be chatting with some of you guys offline, I guess, to see who's going to run that on Monday. But what I think it would be a good thing to do would be to do some role play. Maybe Liz can help me out, or Pam. I'll check in with you guys. Okay. Otherwise, do I have any others? Okay.
If you don't find anyone, I'll do it.
Okay, it's just for half an hour.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, guys. Today was fun. We're learning. We're learning, and we're having fun, and we're becoming, more well-rounded people. So you have permission from me to pull me aside or to text me and say, hey, that was not smart to say, or hey, I really wish you would have done this differently. Okay. And my hope is that everyone in this call is willing to give our peers grace as we get through this together.
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
a good word, grace.
Yep.
Absolutely, Bill. Absolutely, everyone.
All right, everyone's welcome, of course, at the Launch Mastermind. Today, we will do that at 12 o'clock in this room. So thank you for your time this morning. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you at 12.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.